Got it.
Awesome.
Perfect. All right, in this video, I am talking with my guy Jack, one of my remote athletes, and we are going to kind of uncover what helped him be so successful, get from high school to that ever like big goal that we all go after of trying to commit to college. Now he's in college. We're going to talk about his story. So, welcome, Jack. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Quick introduction.
Hey, yeah, I'm Jack. I'm playing some college ball right now in California, a little community college, called Allen Hancock College, north of LA. I played high school ball in Utah, graduated in 2023. College has been a great journey so far, but yeah, just been kind of living life, not, too college crazy, just focusing on baseball. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, you get that cool. For those of you that are watching and don't know the JUCO setting, it is this awesome like hub of it's all baseball. Everyone there,
Yep,
I love JUCO because everyone there has one goal:
very
baseball.
true.
It is I am trying to get that scholarship, that next school. I'm doing everything I can. There are times that you fall into other schools, whether it doesn't matter division, but some guys they've kind of made it to they've not peaked necessarily, but they're just excited to be there. And
Yeah,
then kind of it. But like JUCO guys are like, dude, where are we going? I'm gonna bust my butt because like what's the next step? What's the next step? And I love that, just like I love that for you that you're there. So
for
you
sure.
guys don't know Jack, but Jack is one of the he's just a grinder of a remote guy. Like always was good with me with communication, was always putting it. We were just talking about it before, kind of getting ready for the call. Just super consistent. Has the most beautiful background in all of his videos that he would ever send me. Coming from Utah, played at like one of the top, always like state perennial contenders for championship stuff, high schools in Utah. So just has a really good baseball background and a good story. So Jack, tell the guys about kind of where you were to start when we first started meeting. Um, I know we talked about velocity was upper 70s, low 80s.
Correct.
At that point, because I can't remember because it was a while back, had you worked with a coach in the past?
I have. I would say mostly my high school pitching coach at that time. When I was about 14, I had a facility I would go to, and I had a pitching coach there for about a month or so. But besides that, going into my freshman through junior year, I pretty much mostly just worked with my head and pitching coach at high school. So with you was kind of the first time in a bit I worked much less remotely with a online pitching guy. So
Yeah. So tell me about what made you reach out? What made I don't know if it was your mom that reached out or you, but like what made you like, hey, like were you coming from a place of struggle or frustration or bigger goals?
yeah.
Like what was it made you reach out?
Yeah, the major reason, I found you through some other people too, but the main reason I reached out was I kind of wanted a different perspective in mind. I kind of wanted a new idea. I kind of wanted some more direction. Going into my senior year, I really wanted to capitalize, and so it was really important for me to kind of get some new ideas around. Not like my pitching coach I had in high school was super bad, but I think a lot of the times it's really good to kind of hear different opinions and kind of, have a sense of certain things you can do every day to improve. So that's kind of how I found you is just kind of wanting to make sure I can maximize the ability to reach out and kind of find my direction and not just be like a loner, trying to go through winter alone, if that makes sense. So yeah.
I get it. And so you alluded to it a little bit, but if you could paint the picture, you talked about like, having more direction, having more feedback. But what was at that point in the time, what was the end goal? Was it direction and a plan? Was it more velocity? Was it health? Was it college? Like where were you at?
A big, yeah. I think I would say velocity and health. I mean, it's funny because I said that and I looked at your hat and it says healthy velo. But that's really what it was for me because going into my senior year is when I really kind of grew into myself and I kind of was finding out more about my body and how it works through my form. So going with you, I kind of really wanted to learning how to maximize velocity with also trying to make sure my body was healthy and working how it should. Because you see a lot of high school kids out there that I guess you see others too that have a natural ability, but there's also others that are maybe good players, but don't really take care of themselves. They don't know when to recover. They don't know when to kind of take it easy. They throw too hard and they hurt your arm because you're just throwing too much. Certain stuff like that. So I would say the main thing for me is when I saw your logo, I really liked it. I liked the fact that, we're not just throwing hard to be able to see a number up there. We're trying to see improvement based on maximizing your health and being able to kind of compare that to the past and how much you've improved since then.
Yeah, and I want to give you more credit because you dealt with sickness, you dealt with injuries, you dealt with all these setbacks,
I did.
and because you were working with me, I always with guys, it's like, well, how
Oh
can we
yeah.
get healthy first? So
Yeah.
what do you think that would have been like if you didn't have me through like getting sick? Like, I mean, people get sick and then getting an injury,
Yeah.
and sometimes you get injured. Like,
Yeah.
what would that have been like without working
Yeah.
in a program?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And what I'm going to say to that is pitching, I feel like maybe the most not strenuous, maybe it is, but it takes a really big toll on your body. And in doing that, you have a lot of guys that just like I said before, like try to pitch so hard and do all these things, but again, they're not paying attention to your health. And so the biggest thing, if I wasn't with you right now, I feel like I would just be focusing or in December of 22, just focusing on my arm and just trying to like do everything I can for my arm rather than trying to take care of my health, my mental health as well. And being able to take care of certain mental cues I can use. And also not just like trying to focus on my arm, but like also taking notes and like comparing and stuff like that. So I definitely would kind of be in a way different situation. Wouldn't be able to get over the sickness stuff. Wouldn't be able to get over the injuries I dealt with. So
Yeah, and at that point in time, you weren't committed. Like
no, not at all.
you didn't have a school. So
Yeah, didn't even have
yeah,
emails going out. So yeah,
let's talk about because there's three main pillars that I kind of work with. Like the whole program is structured based on a health first approach, and then basically finding your power source through your mechanics, but also talking about moving from the spine, and then also the progressions. So we've touched on a few of those. Let's talk about health. And on other calls I've done with guys or little case studies like yours, we've talked about the nutrition, the food, the water, the sleep, and all that. And yes, well, that's also because of how important it was to you. You had mentioned before we hopped on the journaling aspect. How had you journaled before?
not no, pretty much no. I'm like other people where it's been really hard to journal. So I did before you. I did not journal at all. No.
Yeah, and how was that different? What did you get out of it? Tell me a little bit about that
Oh.
experience.
Oh, wow, it was crazy. I feel like, honestly, it just really taught me how different every day is going to feel on the mound and when you catch play. I feel like looking back on the notes too, like, there's just certain days that you could even learn for the future. For me, I would take notes on not just how my arm felt playing or throwing 20 throws, but also kind of like how I felt after and how I felt before and what I ate that day, what I didn't eat, what my plan was for, getting sleep that day. So it really was a good tracker for me to really just kind of stay more consistent and improve that way, rather than just like throwing and then like being done. I was kind of able to reflect and observe even my thoughts too mentally. I was able to kind of write down what I was thinking when I was throwing, and certain stuff like that.
Yeah, that's all. I one of my favorite things when working with guys is when they start journaling. And then I understand that most guys have never journaled before. I never journaled outside of like English class or like trying to
Yeah.
write some type of poem to a girl I thought was cute or something like that. But but never for baseball. So I know
Yeah,
that coming in. So in the program, I give guys like it's almost 50 different journal prompts because I just understand that like it's foreign to a lot of guys. So I just love that. I mean, even before the call, we were talking, you would take screenshots of things and like it's so valuable. And I always tell guys like into a year, in 5 years, you might be like, man, I remember when I was working with Scott or when I was doing this thing back 5 years ago, and this was my curveball was working or my mechanics felt better. What was I thinking about? And you can go back to that and reference
yeah,
that because it's there.
yeah, yeah, really good point, yeah.
That's just
Very
super
true.
important. So,
Super.
yeah, one of the other things I wanted to touch on, and you had mentioned, well, you'd mentioned the command component. So we don't have to get into all the steps of it, but talk about how you wrote that down from one call, but then how you're still using that.
Yeah. I use it kind of being able to focus on one thing at a time. When people talk about command, they also talk about form, but when you're throwing in a bullpen or just playing catch, that's the time to kind of work on certain things in your form and also mentally what you're thinking. But when you get out there in the bump, like you really should be thinking about one thing or not thinking at all. I mean, sorry, not thinking at all and just staying focused on the mitt. But I feel like honestly, I just learned with you to kind of learn like not take everything, like, not worry about my lower half, my upper half, not take everything too, like not try to jot down so many things, just focus on one thing at a time and taking its course on that. I remember with you, the first thing we talked about was my arm angle, and then we move on from there. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. So I feel like for me too, even in the college thing, it's like just taking one thing at a time. And because the more thing I feel like, I guess you try to focus, if you try to focus on too many things at once, you're not focusing on anything at all. Kind of too much stress in your mind. So that was a big one for me.
Amen. And that's just, I mean, my degree is in elementary education. I spent about 10 years as a health coach and personal trainer. And so through just working with people trying to change their behaviors, I've understood that if I'm going to try to get you to figure out how to eat, me throwing a big textbook at you is going to overwhelm
Ah,
you. If I want you
yeah,
to figure out your mechanics and I give you 15 different drills to work on and you don't understand any of them, you're not going to get any better.
yeah,
And so I
yeah,
can't get frustrated that, oh, I gave Jack all these things. He doesn't get better at any of them. Well, it's because I haven't spent any time on any of them because I've too much. So that's a
yeah,
perfect point. And yeah, we just build because then you see momentum and you start to see progress and then we can build on that. So that's such a good point. And that goes into what you mentioned before. Something you want to hit on is consistency and the importance of that. So talk a little bit about that.
yeah. The consistency was a big one. I feel like I learned a lot about that. First, I guess in the weight room with my like high school team back in the day. But a big thing consistency wise is it's really easy to kind of get caught up in like worrying so much about your velocity where you just focus on one day of throwing or one day doing this. But I feel like it's really important to kind of like the more obviously you throw, the more you're also going to gain out of it. But at the same time, like it's just the reps, the repetitions matter so much. Even if you don't feel good on a certain day, it's obviously way better to do it than it isn't. And a big thing with you that I was doing is like we talked about before, a certain arm drill to help me kind of stay upright in my arm path. And the more I did it, the more it helped. There were certain days where I was more sore than others, but that's when you tone it back and you just kind of do more light work and light intent. But that eventually helped me feel better the next day to do it again. And so I think consistency is a big one. It's a lot better to kind of, like I said before, just focus on one thing at a time, not trying to, just focus on one thing at a time and do it every day and getting 1% better. People have heard it before, but getting 1% better will get you 20% better in 20 days. So that's honestly going to put you a step ahead of anybody else in the game. So that was a big thing for me and learning it too when I was in my senior year, of just being consistent with journaling, throwing every day, doing the certain drills I was doing with you, and also being at practice with my high school team. So that was a big one.
Yeah. What part of the program of when we're working with me helped you stay consistent? What was the thing that really it was able to hold you accountable and keep you consistent?
I would say if this is the right answer, how important catch play is. How important, the certain drills I was giving you, like they're just or you were giving me, sorry. Like the how important it is to kind of execute each throw and not just go out there and have a catch with your pops. Like they're when you're working on certain things, it's really good to have intent and really good to how every throw really matters. And especially like when I first started working with you, I didn't have a college sniffing at me at all. Nothing was ringing the bell at all, and no one was reaching out to me. So honestly, it just was being like going through my head of like if I really, really, really focus on like working on a certain thing during catch play, that was really what really helped me and accelerated me.
Yeah. And I love that we're talking about, I mean, we're talking about like trying to find out where to go to college. We're talking about command. We're talking about mechanics and velocity. And I think that at this point in the call, and if someone has watched any other videos that I talk about, you think about the remote program as like a velocity program. And that's
Yeah,
what gets people kind of gets their attention, like, oh, I need the velocity. But then everybody knows, whether it's the parent, the coach, the player, or me, we all know that at the end of the day, yeah, I want to throw hard, but I got to stay healthy. I got to be able to throw strikes. If I want to play in college, I got to figure that out too. And so we're able to really encompass a lot of different things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that a lot. And again, like I thought it's so catch play is so important. Going back to that too is like I've had some really high end pitchers here in California and Utah, and some high end coaches talking to me about where the first place to start, no matter what level you're at, no matter where you are in your mechanics compared to somebody else, it is catch play. Even if you may think in your mind that you have a bad mechanics and you're trying to think about too many things on the mound, it starts with catch play. It starts with 20 feet and above. It's gonna maximize um your healthy velo, like it talks about in the logo.
I love that you keep referencing. Well, usually I wear my hat backwards, so
Yeah,
I'm
there you
trying to
go.
keep the light out of here, so it just kind
Yeah.
of works out.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I just love like you don't hear it a lot. Like you hear people talk about velocity and just throwing harder and building your arm strength, but like it starts with health. That's where it starts with your health. Like the days I was sick, I was still throwing, but obviously I'm not going to be throwing max intent on the mound. Like it's not how it works. Like you got to focus on your health first and feeding your body and stuff like that.
And as simple as that sounds when we talk about it, I work with guys all the time at every level. I got a guy that was working with me in the summer playing in the Northwoods, one of the premier college summer program, like summer leagues out there that has all D1 guys, guys getting drafted, scouts there at every single game. And the dude, when he didn't feel good, he was that bulldog mentality of like, so
Yeah.
what? I'm just going to keep working hard, which
Yeah.
coaches
No.
love until
Yeah.
it buries you into the ground and you
Yep.
can't get back up and your velocity's down, your arm hurts and you can't perform.
Yep.
So you're not gonna.
Yeah.
So
And honestly, that goes back to the fact too, I was noticing like I guess an experience I went through the fall is where I kind of came down with like a cold and I was still throwing through it and it ended up hurting my arm. I was dealing with some arm pain as well. So that kind of made me realize like my body's immune system was just shutting down to the point where it was only focusing on kind of healing itself when really it wasn't able to take care of its arm too. So not just getting sick, but also like, you know, your lower half may feel worse on a certain day, but that doesn't mean you should be throwing as hard as you can with the upper half. You still got to give your time to recover.
yeah, and that's the third pillar that I work with guys on is we script out every single day so that okay, I threw high intensity today and through just all my years working with guys and then also as a personal trainer, I understand the body needs anywhere from 24 to 72 hours to recover and everyone's
Yeah,
different. And getting to know the
yeah,
athlete and knowing that one guy recovers quicker and one's slower, you can then program out in a progressive manner of hey, you haven't thrown in a month, so let's just do long toss for a couple days and a couple weeks, and then let's get on the mound for 15 pitches, and that's it, and then 20, and
yeah,
that's it. Oh, you're not feeling that great today. Your health scores and your wellness scores are crap. Okay, we're gonna take the day off. You haven't basically earned the right to do it, and all that
yeah.
progressive. So, had you ever seen anything that scripted out as much as we did, where it was like every single day was something specific?
No, not at all. Even on the rest days, there was something to do, whether it was feeling your body or not. So I've never had, even not even baseball wise, I've never seen anything like that planned out like that, which is really important. Because again, like I said, like pitching is so taxing on your body, and so you have to be consistent with it every day. And a lot of things you had on there weren't even like, we would have some throw days, but it was also stuff you should do after for your body and before as well. So I have never seen before that with you. I've never seen anything like that at all.
Yeah. And what the one other thing, this might be the last thing, but I'm going to ask kind of for your feedback as well. We talked about because at the time of this recording, we're really gearing up where you guys, college guys, looking at your first weekend, your first tournament, or not first tournament, first games. younger high school guys, they're raring up, and all around the year, like some people are still in season right now in different
Yeah.
parts of the country. But we talked about remote in the off season makes sense. Okay, I'm going to get my training in and I'm going to work on all my things to get ready for the season. But even when you're in the off season, guys are like, well, I'm playing another sport or something else is coming up, or maybe I got fall ball, so I don't really have time then. And then the season comes, well, I don't have
Yeah.
time now. And you never find that time. And so talk to me about how valuable, because we both agree, but I want to hear from your point of view as the athlete, how valuable remote training is in season.
Yeah, it's super valuable. I think the main thing is when you're working off season, you're doing stuff every day that's just kind of the same thing, so it can kind of get repetitive. But in season, you're building up for each game. You're building up for, multiple games a week. Even if you're in high school or travel ball, you're building up for multiple games a week. So it really is good for in season because you're able to reflect on each day and how you did. And also, you're able to reflect on how your body's feeling before and after. If you're in off season, you kind of have the weight room, and then you got practice, and then you got maybe a scrimmage. But when you're in season, that's when it matters because that's you've been working so much for in season, and so it's so important for that too. And you can also pay attention to how you know you're feeling your body and how you're sleeping, and based on that, you can see, oh, did I perform as well as I could. If I didn't get enough sleep, maybe it's because I didn't, that's why I wasn't playing as well. Different stuff like that. So I think again, I was with you during in season, and it was super super helpful for that. So
Yeah, it's such a good point because I mean you hit it right on the head. It's it's important in the off season. You have all that time to develop for the season when things are going to matter and your work's going to pay off. But then when things don't go well, what do you do?
yep, yeah,
If you don't have that person holding you accountable or to give you ideas or give you insight or give you feedback, because at that time in the season, high school or college, most of the coaches are in the same boat where they probably got families, they might have another job, they're trying to
yep,
figure out the schedule, they're trying to figure out how to get the field taken care of. And even when they want to help, they just don't have as much time. And then there's a whole bunch of guys on your roster. So if you
yeah,
don't have
so
that
true.
other person and you're stuck and you're frustrated and you don't know what to do in the middle of a game and you just completely crapped the bed and you're like, oh man, I don't know what to do. And I feel like my spot is gone after this. Well, then you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, that's
How
very
many,
true.
yeah,
Like
how
that.
many guys are on your roster or pitching?
There's pitching wise, we got, I would say freshman wise, we got like six other dudes, and then total our staff wise, including me, it's about 13 to 15. We got a couple two ways too. So, and that's included. So, yeah, we got about 15 guys. No, like 12 guys. Sorry, it was like 12 guys.
Yeah, and that just makes it tough. And heck, that's similar numbers to a lot of the high school travel teams as well, where you just got a whole
Yeah.
bunch of arms. So the
Yeah.
coaches, I mean, there's so much travel. There's just a lot going on.
Oh
So
yeah.
it speaks to the importance of in season. And I think you had said it before the call that you thought it was almost more important to be doing remote during season.
Oh, for sure. Way, way, way more important because I feel like you're able to track certain things better by yourself when you're not having to focus on games. And you have more direction with even you know, your coaches. You don't have to worry about games. But yeah, in season's super important because it's also when you take notes of it in season, you're able to reflect on it off season, how you can improve. If you just kind of go through your in season and you don't have a lot of direction, you don't have a lot of notes you can take and journal about, it's kind of hard to work on it, for the next spring season.
Completely agree. So is there anything else you wanted to add? And you can say no. There might be nothing else to add,
Oh
but
no.
anything else you want to add to
Um,
anyone that's considering doing the remote option?
Yeah, I would say again, like I'm gonna touch on it a little bit again. Like I said before, like working with Scott really taught me how important it is to like how important it is to be doing a certain thing every day. Even on your rest day, there's certain things you could be doing to maximize your arm and your arm care, and your mental health too on the mound. Because pitching's hard, man. Pitching can be tough. Like pitching, I mean, it is tough. It's tough on your mental and your physical. And I feel like on those off days, I was able to think about how my mentality should be the next day with you. And so I think again, what I learned with Scott is how much of a help he was in doing something every day. Whereas your high school team, you may have practices that are just, you just have a thing where you play some catch and then you shag some BP. But with Scott, it was where I would finish practice and I would go home and do some drills and do some arm care, do some bands, and then do some mental stuff, take some notes, and that would really just really maximized my effort in the next week, and that was really helpful for me in that senior year.
Yeah, and I don't know if we mentioned it, but just kudos to you again from going from a upper 70s touching 80, 81 to then being able to sit basically like 84, 85 now in college as a lefty at a JUCO where you're gonna continue to get better the next couple of years. And then now you've got 2 years as a lefty sitting at least mid and then upper 80s to now you're gonna have quite the resume to present to all these coaches that are looking for
Yeah,
transfer, that you've done it
for
now at a
sure.
high level against other old dudes. And like that just again, that the JUCO route, the work that you've put in, you're putting yourself in just such a good situation. So credit to you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, it's been great time, and especially like I said before, I've been able to use a lot of tools that you taught me in the college level. Actually today, playing catch with one of my teammates at practice, I was able to use some cues so that you taught me. So it's been great. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So if anyone is watching and you feel like the remote option is something you want to do, there's a couple different ways. So probably underneath this, like the description of this video, if you're watching it on YouTube, should be where you can schedule a call to book with me, see if it's a good fit. Also, the program is outlined in good detail. The main YouTube page or the main video on my YouTube page should be up there as well when you land on it the first time. And I can link that down below as well. But if you guys have questions, you can always reach out to me on social media on basically all the platforms. And then if to book a call with me, we'll see if it's a good fit. We'll get you set up so we can get you on the same program and see just as much success as Jack. Jack, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, of course, Scott. It's been great. It's good to catch up again, and yeah, thank you for all you do.
Awesome. All right, everyone else, take care and stay healthy.